Hello and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show. We have with us the author of this book, Supplement Your Prescription, What Your Doctor Doesn't Know About Nutrition, Dr. Hyla Cass. Dr. Cass is a nationally acclaimed psychiatrist and integrative medicine expert, really. She has been on this path for decades, actually is one of the leaders in the field of integrative medicine in bringing the wisdom of using nutrition into the medical field, both for psychologically and psychiatrically oriented problems to begin with, but now, as attested to in this book, for any number of different kinds of problems. She has reached really an international status with the work that she has done. She's written a score of books, including one called Natural Highs, which is one of my favorite, and another called 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health, which is about to be reissued and updated. So, Hyla, thanks so much for being on the show today.
A pleasure. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. This has been in the making for a
Right.
while, and finally
here we are.
Here we are.
Okay.
Exactly. I'd like to kind of open this up with a quote that is in the book, under praise for your book, by the very well-known professor of surgery at Columbia, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who said, "For every dollar we spend on prescription drugs, we spend $1 to fix the complication. Understanding how nutritional supplements affect these drugs could make them safer and more effective." Dr. Oz. This is a really fine endorsement, actually, of the work that you've been doing here, and you're really providing a great service by helping people think in a broader way about this whole issue.
Well, it's interesting. In Supplement Your Prescription, I really felt I had to write it because I bridge both worlds. You know, I don't really prescribe very much in terms of medication. I pretty much go the natural route, but I get a lot of patients who are already on meds. You know, the cardiologist put them on a statin, or they've seen an endocrinologist, or they're on medicine for their blood sugar, for diabetes. And what I notice, because I deal with nutrition and supplements, is that they have nutrient depletion. And I began to research this and really, really read the fine print that sometimes isn't even there. But
so
about
fine.
the very fine print, because the doctors do not tell their patients that if they're on a particular drug, be careful. I mean, you get half the population taking drugs, okay? And this is medicines
Is it really
prescribed.
50%?
Well, it's 50%, and these are statistics that are, we can pretty much rely on them, but I think it's actually higher than that. And in the age group over 60, people are on generally 3 or more average. So, and I know a lot of people that are not on any, so you can imagine how many drugs some people are on, and it's really scary. People come in to see me, and I have to start sorting through their drugs before I can even begin treating them naturally and try to figure out what's really going on. And sometimes what's really going on is side effects from their drugs. We have to cut those back, and we have to do that carefully, and really hopefully with their doctors okay, so we can work together as a team.
You remind me of the whole idea, Hyla, that if the disease doesn't kill you, the cure surely will.
That's an old one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's as true today as it was in the past during the days of barbers doing surgery,
I know. I'll have somebody come to me, say they're depressed, and they've been sent to me because, maybe they need a prescription for Prozac or Zoloft, right? But I'll check and see what drug they're on. And one of the things I've discovered is that the anti-diabetic drug, glucophage metformin, actually lowers folic acid and B12. And what that does is raise your homocysteine, a very bad cardiac risk factor. It's very bad for your heart, but it also can cause depression. So here I am, I'm seeing somebody on this medicine, and it's actually causing them to be depressed. So rather than doing the usual thing,
and
which is
putting them
at
cardiac risk,
and putting them at cardiac risk, and they're diabetic already. So you don't really want to put them at increased cardiac risk, because that's part of the diabetic process.
In the symptomatology of
so what I do with these people is start controlling their diet, exercise, lifestyle, give them other supplements. And what I love about what I was able to do in Supplement Your Prescription is I not only talk about the depletion, but then I say, by the way, these are the supplements you can take instead of the drugs. So for this diabetic guy that I was telling you about, this patient of mine, I began to put him on gymnema, chromium, vanadium, alpha lipoic acid, also very important to help stop the very bad complications of diabetes, you know, the circulatory things where people end up having very bad gangrene.
Useful for me to hear because actually my very wonderful niece was recently diagnosed with diabetes, and she's been attending all the total biology classes that you also know of.
Yes.
So she's totally tuned in to understanding the real, you know, psycho-emotional mechanisms of illness.
Yeah.
And at the same time, one often needs another kind of physical support.
See, that's the point. It's the whole mind, body, spirit. So when I'm talking about supplements, I'm not saying don't pay attention to the mind at all, because it has tremendous effect on our health and well-being. So that goes without saying. So that's sort of like the backdrop.
Yes, right.
And then the other backdrop is diet, eating the right foods, eating nutritious foods, and not eating the bad stuff, the sugar, the caffeine. I'm not going to go into that. I go into it in very great detail in Supplement Your Prescription and in 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health and in Natural Highs, because it is the basis. And I go through that with my patients.
You are on a natural high.
Hey, that's why I write about it.
That's why you're right. That's
so, thank you very much.
Sure.
So, so with this person, once we actually got him eating properly, exercising, and taking the supplements, he didn't need the glucophage anymore. So that was the solution.
And you were able to determine that through doing blood tests over time?
Right. So doing blood tests, and the deficiency, the original deficiency of the B12 and folic was taken care of because I had given him additional B12 and folic acid.
I see. So that was up for that deficiency.
Right. So I didn't just take him off the drug right away, or take the statins, for example.
How long did it take, for instance, with this particular
With a couple months.
A few months. That's not bad. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
Yeah. Now, what those supplements that you named were sufficient to remove him, from a medical point of view, off the diabetic
the issue with diabetes is because diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and you didn't mention whether your niece had type 1 or type 2, I would guess it's type 2. Type 2 is so-called adult onset, but we're now seeing it actually in children and in adolescents. We didn't used to see that, but it has to do with a very, very bad diet.
Oh, yeah.
Toxic diet. And it's putting a
heavy
very
sugar
sugar and actually toxins in the food. And particularly the sugar causes an insulin reaction, causes insulin resistance, and then they develop type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, obesity, especially around the middle. So it's quite a serious problem, and that leads to heart problems. And then speaking of heart problems, I want to talk about the statins, because that is such a big, you know, the statins are prescribed like, you know, I don't know, like aspirin. Candy, that's another bad one. Okay, so statins, Zocor, Mevacor, Lipitor, the drugs to reduce cholesterol. First of all, cholesterol's a myth. You know, really.
Will you please tell everybody the truth about this, Hyla?
Oh my God.
This is so important.
Cholesterol, this whole myth
of
high cholesterol.
People really believe the propaganda.
It's shooting the messenger. You don't want to have a high cholesterol, but the reason you have a high cholesterol most of the time is inflammation, and the inflammation is generally due to eating too much, guess what? Sugar, refined carbs, the bad stuff, the white flour. When you change your diet, it's not from eating low fat. Fat's okay. You don't want to eat the trans fats, the kind of stuff that's in baked goods. But fish oil is great for helping to reduce.
Essential fatty acids, without which you cannot think, you cannot live.
That's right. And here these people, this is what's interesting. They're on the statins. They're lowering their cholesterol, so they can't think, they can't live. They don't have enough cholesterol to make hormones, so the men become impotent. Okay.
Right.
It also causes there's no testosterone. The other issue is and this is where the drug depletion, the nutrient depletion comes in, drug nutrient depletion. It depletes coenzyme Q10, which is a vital nutrient for, guess, the heart. You got it. So what you're doing is you're actually creating heart failure. So here we are with an epidemic of heart failure. We didn't used to have heart failure. We have it now because people are on the statins, and that's actually one of the causes. So here we are with what's called iatrogenic illness. It means caused by
Your
the
doctor.
doctor, which is really too bad. You know, the doctors don't mean to be doing harm,
No.
but this is the way we're trained,
That's
pretty much
right.
pharmaceutically.
So they're trained, the doctors are trained by the pharmaceutical companies who do not take these things into consideration.
They know
at
about them.
all.
They know about them, but they don't advertise them.
So who's responsible then for this whole hierarchy of information and education?
Well, guess what? You're in charge of your own health because no one else is going to take charge for you. I mean, you can see the pharmaceutical industry is driving the medical industry. And so you go to a doctor, you're going to get a prescription, and you may ending up depleted in some vital nutrients. And it's really up to you. You know, if you have a condition, you have to research it. And we have the ways to do it. I've written books, great books out there where you can research your particular health problem. And I'm sure you have archives that do that as well. Okay.
But what you're really saying is consumer patient beware.
Beware. And know how to speak to your doctor intelligently. Know what questions to ask. Know what to ask about side effects of meds. Do I really need that medication? Are there natural ways to do it? And if your doctor doesn't know, you might want to find a doctor who does know. Or use that one as in an ancillary way and see a naturopathic physician or a nutritionist for some other aspect of it.
I mean, I must say that you are so studied in this area. You've done so much research, Hyla. You really do stand out among the medical community in this way. I'm not just saying that to be nice. It's true. So you are a valuable resource. Most doctors don't have a clue of what you're talking about.
It's frustrating.
For that statin drug to be turning around and potentially causing heart failure is absolutely reprehensible from every single point of view. So they don't mean to cause harm. But that's almost like saying, you know, a murderer doesn't mean to murder.
To kill somebody. Yeah,
I get it. I mean, these are people who put themselves out in the world to be scientists. And there's nothing scientific about allowing a patient to take a substance that could actually kill them.
And the data on statins isn't really that good. And as I said, it's not about lowering the cholesterol. That's shooting the messenger. It's really stopping the inflammation that is then raising the cholesterol. The cholesterol is actually a response to inflammation.
There you
it's
go.
part of the normal inflammatory response.
Process.
It's a
Exactly.
message. It's a symptom. It's the way medicine is practiced is we are consistently trying to cover over the symptoms. We're treating the symptoms. If someone's depressed, you have to look, do they have low thyroid? Do they have food allergies? Is it a blood sugar issue? Many, many issues can be causing, is it dietary? The many issues that can be causing depression besides situational problems.
Right.
And you need to look at that before giving a drug for that because then you're going to cause more depletions. You can actually deplete your B vitamins, and with depleted B vitamins, guess what? You get depressed. So,
Could we just take a look at something that might be considered controversial? Is it okay that, how could a drug actually cure something like depression? I mean, since depression ultimately, yes, it could be contributed to through various kinds of nutritional deficiencies and the like, but ultimately it's an existential question of somebody is relating to life and they keep looking at it through a depressed worldview. And that's a result usually from a psychologist's point of view, like my own. We're looking at it as basically suppressed anger. Depression is frequently traceable to that. And so we know that the biochemistry of the blood changes when anger is expressed, when it's unsuppressed.
Yes.
Everything changes, the whole game changes. Acidity of tissue changes, et cetera, et cetera. So I deal a lot with stress and the psychology of the situation.
the stress is really the key. That
Okay.
is the key.
So from your point of view, how could, maybe not from your point of view, but from the standard medical point of view, how could a drug ever actually respond to the idea of resolving depression?
Well,
It's just
interesting.
palliative,
It
in
can.
other
It's
words.
palliative. And in terms of the stress response, what happens with the stress response is that you're creating adrenaline in the fight or flight response.
Right.
And that is stealing. It is stealing the neurotransmitters. So instead of having the neurotransmitters, the serotonin, the norepinephrine, the dopamine that you need for energy, it's going to make adrenaline because you have a stress response.
To the drug.
No, a stress response to life. You know,
to the
you have
sorry, yeah,
post-traumatic
exactly.
stress. You
To
may have
life in
stress,
general,
you know,
right.
whatever's going on. You may have
Exactly.
post-traumatic
Excuse me.
stress disorder from your past, and so you have a stress response that's continually going on. And then every time you
course.
face something in life that's the least bit stressful, you're into fight or
Right.
flight.
Reptilian.
And that,
There you go.
and that depletes you. So I start when I'm treating people with restoring your neurotransmitters and restoring your adrenals. And you can do this with herbs. I have some great herbs to do that. There's adaptogens. And in fact, I carry one on my website that I created called Energy that has adaptogens in it, like ginseng and ashwagandha, that actually help you to have your energy back.
Wonderful.
And I also have neurotransmitter precursors, things that help to make raw materials that help to make
Such as what are
amino
those?
acids.
Okay.
Tyrosine, phenylalanine, 5-hydroxytryptophan. In fact, I created a product called Brain Recovery. So it helps people to, besides the food, and you gotta have the food, you gotta do exercise.
Right.
But in terms of supplements, the Brain Recovery one really does help a great deal in restoring your amino acids. There's also a fish oil in the packet. They're little packets, so it's very convenient. So you have your multivitamin,
For the woman
your
on the
fish
go.
oil, your fish oil, right? So yeah. Exactly, because a lot of people are not going to take one of these. They get too confused and they just
Totally.
give up and they just throw up their hands and they don't take
Totally.
anything.
Because
So-
human nutrition is very complex, in fact, and we actually know still a fractional amount of what
Yeah.
all there is to know about it. It's a really interesting thing. So that's fabulous. So you have come up with a product line as well to help to restore balance.
Yeah, and that's
based
not the
on
final
stress
solution.
responses.
Yeah. It's not the final solution.
Yes.
And in fact, when people are in this like state, the other one, in fact, the other day I was at a wedding and the bride was tossing these. It was called Calm Natural Mind, which I actually invented. I pulled together some amino acids that are calming, and she was wonderful. She really was very calm. It really.
It works.
So,
That
yeah.
would be a great testimonial. yeah.
Right. So it's all on my website.
Fabulous. Tell them your website.
It's drcass.com, drcass.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we still have a little bit more time, so I'd like to just kind of get underneath really the whole idea of integrative medicine and the way you see it getting integrated into the general fabric of our medical society. What do you see happening at this point?
Well, there are some medical schools that are talking about integrative programs. So far, what they're really doing is they're bringing in, for example, chiropractic, acupuncture, east-west, sort of an east-west combination, which is nice. I think it's very important, and I certainly recommend that for a lot of my patients. But I'd like to see more functional medicine. Functional medicine, and it's not the ultimate answer either, because we are made out of energy, ultimately. But functional medicine is very useful in that you always look at the root, you look for the root cause. So I'll do some pretty sophisticated lab testing to figure out what's going on. If someone's depressed, do they have low thyroid? Or do they have thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disease that can cause a combination of anxiety and depression? So it's always looking more deeply, If somebody's diabetic, you look at their diet. You can also do genetic testing to see what the predispositions are, and then you give the right sorts of nutrients to help the gene expression not happen. So you want to have a better gene expression.
You mean to inhibit that possible
So that won't
genetic
happen,
expression.
right. So you can say, oh, well, my mother had diabetes, I'm going to have it. No, it means you have a predisposition, so you have to be extra careful. You may have to take extra chromium, or extra vanadium. So there's certain things that will then prevent the gene expression. And that's true in many, many illnesses. So we're not absolutely just, destined to live out our genes, but it's the gene expression that's going to be important. And the best thing to actually influence gene expression is food, rather than nutrients. Nutrients are good, but it's the nutrients in food that are still the best way of
distinct from
influencing it
supplements.
than taking it as
Right.
supplements.
Food forms.
Even though I'm obviously a big proponent
yeah.
of supplements.
Sure.
You
But
must
for
start with
this
a
aspect
really
of
good
it
diet, but
is-
even for everything. You really want to have a very healthy diet, lots of fruits and vegetables, organic, please eat organically whenever possible. And the right kind of protein. These are all the raw materials we need to make everything that makes our body run.
You're fun for me because
Because we agree.
We agree, and because we have spoken extensively enough about many different things that are very important to us from our somewhat different points of view, which is, as you're speaking about genetic expression, who am I thinking of? You could probably even tell me. Bruce Lipton. And I'm thinking about the cellular biological work that he has done that's expressed in his book called The Biology of Belief, where we know that our thoughts are programming our cells and actually activating ourselves according to our belief systems. And a lot of that is related to Einstein's famous question of, is the universe friendly? And of course, if it is, our cells are smiling and dancing. And if our feeling about that is that it is not, then we become related more to the brainstem and the fight and flight hormonal responses. So knowing that you know that, and knowing that you also know some of the work of Dr. Claude Sabat and Dr. Hammer of the New Medicine and the Total Biology, which you know I've been a great promulgator of for the past several years, how do you factor in what you're saying and your incredibly sophisticated nutritional understanding with this backdrop of understanding the role of stress and belief?
It's all connected. That when
this is true.
When we can attenuate that stress response, and we do this through many different ways. Usually it's a psychotherapy technique, meditation technique, relaxation technique. Sometimes it needs to be a psychotherapy technique to release PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So once you release that, then you don't have the consistent trauma recurring over and over and over again, and the consistent stress and the consistent drain on the body, with all the problems in high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all the things that happen from stress.
Yes.
So we want to deal with it at that level, but at the level that I'm working on, usually with the nutritional part and the endocrinological part, the hormones, I want to look at that too, so I can help restore the balance. You can say, well, we can do it ourselves. It is our body that's doing it, but we're supplying the raw materials that help the body do it better. Especially with age, we're not as resilient as we were, so we need to throw in some of those natural hormones and natural supplements to give the body a boost to restore the balance. And then you can cut back some.
That's very intelligent. That's using everything.
That's right.
Basically, it's using the raw materials in physical form, and it's using psychological processes, relaxation, etc. Yeah. So it's like taking the best, pooling the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and it's about balance. You want to have a balanced life where you're meditating and you have a spiritual connection, you're exercising your body, you're feeding your body really well, you have relationships, you live in a clean environment, on and on. All of these things are it's all part of life, it's all part of who we are. And we need to attend to all of those aspects, which I try to do in my patients, even though I don't stress every single one of them. It would take a long time to go through every single issue, but I'm paying attention to those when I'm talking to someone.
Exactly. Beautiful. In our last minutes, I was thinking of another major topic in today's world, which has a lot to do with rheumatoid style issues that people have, like arthritis.
Autoimmune disease.
Autoimmune, yeah. Could you just speak a little bit about, from your point of view, about that?
Autoimmune disease is certainly increasing, women more than men, and testosterone seems to afford some protection. So actually we give women some testosterone, that helps. This is all alternative. This is not the mainstream. Mainstream gives these pretty toxic drugs. So we give anti-inflammatories such as fish oil to help. There's some thought that it may be viral in origin.
A particular fish oil, or?
Omega-3 fish oils. And you want to get ones that are mercury-free and PCB-free. So that's, clean fish oil.
Yes.
So that's anti-inflammatory. And there are a number of other anti-inflammatory products, bromelain and enzymes that will help to cut the inflammation.
I see.
So, and there's toxins. A lot of the toxins in the environment are what's causing us to react against our own bodies. So you have to detox. It might be for another show.
Yes,
there's a lot to say about this.
Yes, exactly.
I did cover it, though, in 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's another one that we have to do another show on, natural highs.
Yeah, it is. How to keep your mind, mood, and energy up all the time using natural means and natural products, supplements, diet, and so on. Yeah.
That is just
That'd be fun.
Cool. Absolutely.
Let's do it.
I mean, that's just great. I mean, it's beautiful to just you're accessing nature in a very powerful way. You know,
Yeah.
it's taking the richness of the plant life, which has its own incredible intelligence and energy patterns.
That's exactly right.
I use herbs from the Amazon rainforest, and in a similar kind of way as what you were saying, with
Yeah.
use of the ginseng and harnessing all of this together, you end up getting these precursors
Yeah.
for, you know, the building blocks that we need to restore health and bring us. I also feel, Hyla, that taking really pure herbs and the like helps to access levels of intelligence that we didn't otherwise have access to.
Yeah, and that is,
Do you know?
yeah, the energy of plants, and I talk about that in my, I wrote a little book called A User's Guide to Herbs, and I talk about the energy of herbs being a message to our being. You know, it's the energy of the plant kingdom talking to our energy field and doing things that are healing for us.
Yes, exactly.
So it's a real gift. You know, the plant kingdom is a real gift for us.
Truly, truly. And so if we are found talking to plants, it shouldn't be strange at all.
No, no, we should talk to plants.
We should talk
They're
to
very
plants.
sensitive.
Right.
They really do respond.
Truly. I mean, you remember The Secret Life of Plants, Peter
Yes.
Tompkins and Bird, what's his name? I forget his co-author's name.
Oh, there's Bernard Grad who did it years ago in Montreal. He was, I think, one of the first.
You know, the playing of music and the conversations with plants.
And growing,
their
they grow
moods,
better.
and
They grow better with certain
and-
music.
Oh my
and don't
God.
grow at all with other music.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So play Mozart for your plants.
Yes.
Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Total pleasure.
So glad.
Yeah. Let's do it again.
We will do.
Okay.
We will do. We've been speaking with the author of this book, Supplement Your Prescription, Dr. Hyla Cass. It's been a pleasure. She's also the author of several other books. But go to her website at
www.drcass.com, drcass.com.
Wonderful. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.